Melvin.
Hi, Todd.
How are you?
How's it going? Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
You got a flower behind your ear.
Oh, I do, yeah. Courtesy of this one. So, when I was growing up, and I'm sure this is true of you, I'm sure it's true of most people here, I really believed in Santa Claus.
I'm sorry, Todd, but telling an atheist that Santa doesn't exist and Jesus does, that's ridiculous.
It's you and I.
Before I get into this video, I would like to talk about some of the things that's going on with me. First off, a lot of people have been telling me about how slow I talk, which, of course there's some problems with that I'm trying to fix. And the other problem is that people have been telling me about the problems with my audio, and I can say this, that I am moving directly to Audacity because Audacity prevents the skipping and etc. and allows some dB boost and allows a whole lot of other things. But yeah, there's a lot of problems, especially with the system I was using before. But anyhow, let's get on to this video and let's see what's going on.
So I grew up, my parents told me Santa Claus was real. I had no reason not to believe them. And not only did I believe in Santa Claus, but I grew to really love Santa Claus. I became very emotionally invested in him. I believed in the magic of Santa Claus, that this fat man could suddenly become skinny and give me presents because I was nice. I believed in that very thoroughly, and I became very emotionally invested. And then a few years later, I found my dad sneaking presents downstairs, and I realized Santa Claus was not real. And it really broke my heart. I really felt deceived. I felt hurt that I had believed in this magic that now I realized was not real. And so my question to you, and it's really a yes or no question. Obviously, I don't mean to say you need to give a yes or no answer, but is it possible, not do you think it's true or do you think this is the way it is, but is it possible that you believe in Jesus Christ and you love Jesus Christ the same way I did Santa Claus, and that it's just and that you learned of Jesus the same way I did Santa Claus, and that it might not actually be legitimate?
There isn't any evidence that Santa Claus exists. However, there's a lot of evidence out there that some atheists go through a lot of extreme mental problems related to social rejection of them from their religious family members due to, religion, as do LGBT people. Religious trauma syndrome, RTS, and this is by Dr. Marlene Winnell, is a function of both chronic abuse and harmful religion as an impact of serving one's connection with one's faith and faith in community. It is compared to the combinations of PTSD and complex PTSD. In the last article of this series, I explained some of the toxic aspects of authoritarian religions that cause long-term psychological damage. Bible-based religions in particular. In writing, I will address the trauma of breaking away from this kind of religion, quotes Dr. Marlene Winnell, PhD. With PTSD, a traumatic event is one in which a person experiences or witnesses actual or threatening death or serious injury or threat to physical integrity of self or others. Losing one's faith or leaving one's religion is an ambiguous, event because it essentially means the death of one's previous life and the end of reality as it is understood. It is a huge shock to the system and one that needs to be recognized as a trauma. Now on to Todd's response to Santa Claus.
There's two reasons why I would say it is not. Number one, in order for me to reject the notion that God exists, everything, including my thought about nothing, would have to evaporate. Everything would have to go away.
But just to be clear, I'm not talking about God. We can have a good philosophical discussion
Okay.
about God. I'm talking about Jesus Christ,
And
specifically
that would be
Jesus.
that'd be my second point. Having read the Bible, having seen how supernatural it is, I can't conclude anything else. This isn't because I didn't grow up.
Revelations 13, King James Version. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns were 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. All the world wondered after the beast, and they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Yahweh, blaspheming his name, and then that dwell in heaven. You can't conclude that this passage is nothing but a fairy tale that is worse than Harry Potter, Todd.
Which means I wasn't a Christian because I never repented. I wanted Jesus to be a get out of hell free card. But I was not a genuine convert who had repented and put my trust in Jesus.
Let's time out right there. Point number 1, for me to reject Jesus, I need to reject common sense. That was the point I was trying to make.
Not only is Todd lying here, but he is also committing a false equivalency fallacy. You don't have to reject common sense to reject Jesus, and it is a fallacy to say that you do.
Didn't get to open that up for, presumably, Calvin. But in order to not believe in Jesus, I need to deny logic, reason.
This is basically the same informal fallacy. I will say this, I'm kind of a point on this. I don't believe in Jesus Christ, and yet I don't deny logic. So, I don't know.
What is intuitive and obvious. If there is a big chalkboard, there must be a big chalkboard maker. The most obvious basic thought on the planet. This is the most basic.
I know where this argument is going. It's going to be about the watchmaker argument, which we can easily see who made the chalkboard by looking at the chalkboard maker's mark on the actual chalkboard itself. However, we don't have the same thing for the universe, Todd.
Obvious, logical, reasonable thought anybody can have. If there is a universe, there must be a universe maker.
See, just basically, he did what every good scientist knows they cannot do. If B is the universe and A is Yahweh, but we have no evidence that A even exists, then how can we even conclude that A exists? We can't.
Therefore, for me to reject the notion that Jesus Christ exists, I need to stop thinking logically. But then I tried to move into point number 2. I wanted to bring him into the pages of the Bible. So let's untime out.
But let me share this with you. The Bible is axiomatic. It proves itself to be supernatural. And I'll give you probably just one story, all right? Do you know anything about the Jews wandering around the desert?
Sure.
They're
According to Rational Wiki, mainstream history and archaeology now consider the Exodus to never have happened and the story to be an entirely fictional narrative put forth together between the 8th and 5th centuries BCE by Christians and Jewish literalists.
out in the desert, and in Exodus 15, the Jews complain, we don't have any water, God provides water. Exodus 17, 2 chapters later, they complain that they don't have any water. And this time, Moses says, why do you keep complaining, not against me, but against God? So God instructed Moses to set up a courtroom. So for the sake of this picture, y'all are the Jewish people who are murmurers and complaining that God is not being kind. I'm going to answer.
You know what? I'm wondering if this atheist is just thinking the same thing that I'm thinking.
Dude, this is answering your question.
Well, I'm not sure that it is, but,
Well,
you know.
hang in there. Let me give the punchline, and then you
Sure.
decide.
Sounds good.
All right? So you're all the guilty Jewish people. There was a rock in front of the guilty Jewish people, and then Moses was supposed to stand with the elders with his staff of authority to judge a courtroom scene. And here's what you've got. You've got the guilty people accusing God, who's the innocent one, who put himself into the criminal's dock, and he instructs Moses to take your staff of authority and crush the rock while God's presence was on that rock. That's an Old Testament story from Exodus 17. 1 Corinthians 14 in the New Testament says that rock.
I'm sorry, Todd, but you came to what seems to be a university with no preparedness, no answer, and basically expecting to use circular reasoning. Well, all that's going to do is leave you back at the same position that you were at when you started. Dumbass. I'm sorry, but it's just that way. Todd is ridiculous. If you like the video, thumb it up. Leave a comment. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, whatever. Donate $1 to me. Thank you, and peace out.